Hey everybody, this Raven coming at you from the beautiful North Carolina mountains on a beautiful spring-like day. Hopefully it's here to stay. Here in North Carolina, the weather changes its own mind exactly the way it wants. It doesn't seem to follow any pattern sometimes. They say if you don't like the weather in North Carolina, just wait a little while and it'll change. So anyway, I'm down here looking at all this beautiful stuff down here. It's a beautiful spring day. Give you a little view here of this brook, I'm sitting by. Nothing more peaceful, I think, than the sound of water, just babbling over the brook and over the rocks and all the different places. And my favorite sound is water moving and the sound of wind in the trees, as long as the wind's not too strong. Lately we've had a lot of wind. It's almost like a hurricane going on, but it's really a beautiful place here. And I just want to welcome everybody to my YouTube channel, Lessons Learned. And I'm just sitting here by this brook and I'm thinking about, lots of different things. And one of the things that comes to my mind that I think on quite a bit is something called mindfulness. And, that's a term, you hear a lot in Buddhism, but it's not exclusive to Buddhism. I mean, any truth or really, practice that benefits mankind in any way, humankind in any way, then, it's not necessarily of one religion or another. There's truth in just about every religion that on the man, but regardless of that, I mean, this has nothing to do with religion, and it comes in different forms. And I know I've got a friend that's a Buddhist priest, and he could tell you a whole lot more about mindfulness and what the Buddhists say and all that. But I have, there's a lot of different versions of it, and mindfulness to me is just being able to live in the present moment, and that's so important. I mean, you think, well, that sounds pretty, out there or something like that, or super spiritual, or but it's really not. I mean, we've got to get to a place in our culture, or at least in our own minds, that we have this peacefulness, we have this mindfulness, as it's called in Eastern philosophies and stuff. And just being able to come to a place in your life where your mind is just not completely inundated by what bills I got to pay, what about my kids, what about the problem of having a home, where you get to a place, where, it's not where you don't have to go to church to get it, or go to any particular place or any particular religion to get it. It's just a place you got to be into in your mind. It's like a sanctuary, if you would, in your own mind, that we all have. A lot of us just don't know how to access it. We let things defeat us, thoughts just flood into our mind, and our imagination likes to run wild. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe you sit there in that doctor's office, and waiting on the results, of an x-ray or something like that, and we're thinking the worst, or, maybe you're wondering about, whether how you're going to pay the bills when you don't have enough money in your account, or, or how your kids are going to turn out, or how they turned out, and, there's just so many things your mind wants to do. I mean, because the battle is in your mind. The battle is won or lost in your mind. It's all a matter of your perspective of things. It's all a matter of the paradigm that you create. And you've got to something I like to say is, choose your illusion. I mean, because, I'm not saying everything's an illusion, and I'm not saying there's not something real, but your illusion, though, has got to be based on something that benefits you, something that brings you peace, some place that you can enter into anywhere you're at. Meditation is so important. It's not just that's not just some Eastern religion practice. I mean, you've got to, that will help you a lot if you would learn to meditate. Meditation, don't go in, I'm not talking about out-of-body experiences or anything weird or nothing like that. I'm just talking about take time to just sit down every day and just calm yourself. Take those 3 big calming breaths, and then just close your eyes, and if you need to listen to music or a recording of nature or sounds or something, then you can do that if that helps you. But ultimately you want to be able to be in a meditation and be in sort of a mindfulness anywhere you're at. I mean, you should be able, while you're going down the road, you should be able to keep your mind in a place. The Bible even talks about set your mind, and that's so important. You got to set your mind ahead of time. It was what the scriptures is talking about. It's saying, how are you going to react to a situation? You need to think about that in advance. You know, how am I going to how am I going to react when this happens? How am I going to react when that happens? You need to run some scenarios around in your mind sometime, and just and just go ahead and get to that place to where how you're going to react to it. So you don't just react to it, but that you respond to it with the peace of mind. And you can be like walking on a trail, you can be outside, you can be inside, you can be. I mean, you should be able to do this at any point in time, and it mainly it comes to the point to where it's like, don't think too far ahead into the future, and don't think into the past, because the past is gone, and learn from it, but you can't dwell on it. And yes, probably might be things in some of our past that we can't change and that have affected our lives deeply, and that still affect us to a certain extent. But there's like people that are always, there's always, as they say, someone worse off. No matter how bad off your situation is, then you can be worse off. And those people that have been really bad off, you got people that that are dying of cancer and have seem to have joy and seem to have a good attitude about it. I got friends that have had MS and different things, and they live in their wheelchair. They don't know a lot of things that a lot of people would have that have the ability to use their legs and stuff, and but they found a place of peace, just because they've accepted their life, they've accepted their paradigm, and they've learned to accept it and do the best they can with what they've got. And it isn't saying that what they got is any worse or any less. It's just they've accepted their situation, and they've sought to live life to the fullest. And that's really what it's all about. Another comparison to the scriptures, too, is just being thankful. If you don't live in a state of thankfulness, where you are thinking more about what you have and have gratitude for what you have instead of thinking about what you don't have, because it'll drive you crazy if you think about all the stuff you don't have. And your happiness, your joy, should never be based on how much stuff you got, or how much if you could do this or you could do that. And if you have to do these things that make you happy, they're just that. They're going to make you happy when you get those things. But what if you never get those things? That's what, in the scriptures it talks about something called joy, and people like to think about joy and happiness being the same thing, but it's really not. It's really kind of profound when you study it out, the meaning of that, because joy has nothing to do with your circumstances. Joy is like you can be basically happy and have a good positive attitude and have a smile and have peace even in any situation, and it isn't based on if I have this, then I'll be happy. And that's all happiness is. It's saying under certain circumstances I'll be happy, the rest of the time I'm not. And we find ourselves walking through life pretty miserably. And another thing you got to stop doing too is just don't compare yourself. Don't compare your life to anyone else. Everybody's life is different. I've got family that have lots of money, and I don't. Be frank with you. But I've never been one that's had to have a lot of material things. I've never been one that was discontent. I mean, there's been times I wish I had more money, and I'd be able to pay the bills easier and stuff, But I've eventually though have just reached a point in my life though, to where I realized that I'm happy with what I've got, and I've took what I in many situations. It's like things I wanted to do, places I wanted to go, things I wanted to share with people. And I couldn't afford to do it. I found ways. Ways that I found out, is just doing things and working within your means, working with what you got. I think probably one of the reasons I got into survival skills and primitive skills, and later on teaching them, like from 1986 on, is I found that most of the stuff I need to do survival and primitive skills is out there in the woods, and I don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. I mean, if you got like motorcycles or cars and all that, that's fine. If you got the money to do it, to mess with those things, that's fun and all, I'm sure. But those things cost a lot of money. And if it comes right down to it, I mean, you don't have any of those things, what will you have? You've got to really find simplicity in life. We live in such a digital age, and which I say that coming to you here from a digital device, but hopefully it'll make some sense to somebody, help somebody. But in our digital age, I mean, it's like we are constantly assaulted by the media, constantly assaulted by commercials. Our mind is just being molded. Our mind is just trying to be changed, by what society says is normal. And normal is having all the good stuff, at least in the Western world, having all the stuff that you can get and doing anybody any way you want, and not worrying about the consequences and that kind of thing, you know. And this world is paying for that. I mean, we're living in a culture now that's gone mad with violence, and just a violence worshiping culture almost. It's getting crazy, and it's getting unsafe, and you know, and people need to get to a point where they make sure they have the ability to be able to protect themselves and their families, you know, get armed, get self-defense, you know, courses or something, you know, under your belt, you know, so that you can defend yourself for your own, you know. But my point is, though, in all of this, though, is just to be mindful, be aware of the things that you have. Like yourself. I mean, if you don't like yourself, then nobody else is going to like you. I mean, you're going to be grumpy. You're going to be, you know, you're going to walk around with a chip on your shoulder. You're going to be walking around thinking the world owes you a living, or you're going to be going around hating on everybody because nobody understands you and all that. You need to you've got to get over yourself. You're not. All of us are special in a lot of ways, and we're all unique, and that's true. But don't elevate that to the point that you're more special than anyone else. I mean, we're all susceptible to, you know, to the same things. The Bible says rain falls on the evil and the good. You know, we all have to live life, in other words, and good things are going to happen, bad things are going to happen to all of us, you know, and that's just the truth of life. You know, so don't elevate your needs. You know, don't be, you get into a mode of being selfish after a while, and it's okay to take care of yourself, but there again, I mean, there's a balance to this thing. It's just, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit selfish and looking out for yourself, but if you get too selfish, you know, then it becomes a problem. It affects you and affects others around you, and it backfires on you. So there's a balance thing, and it's always about balance. You know, don't go too far one way or another. You know, you got to balance things out. In Eastern religions, they call it the yin and the yang. You know, the darkness and the light, balanced out. You know, and I like the whole concept of the yin and yang, really, because it's basically not denying that there is darkness, but it's saying, rather than just resist and fight it, then balance it out and not give into it. And even you can take those so-called dark energies and negative energies and channel them in a positive way. It's just like fear. You know, you could actually channel that into extraordinary courage to do what needs to be done. You know, and it just depends on how you channel it, or you can let it just beat you down into a thumb-sucking weakling, and, you know, balled up in a fetal position or something. You know, you can let it beat you down like that. You've got to channel. You've got to always stay in control as much as is possible. And the thing that you do have control over is your mind. And if you ever, unless you have some kind of mental illness or something like that, you know, then you should be able to control your mind, control your thoughts. And the only way you can do that is by practice this. You got to be mindful of it. You got to willfully do things to practice this. This is not something that comes natural, because everything in the world is just trying to destroy you, trying to bring you down, trying to tell you you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not, you know, and all the things that life in this world, you know, tries to lie to you about. But you got to realize and be content in who you are, and realize there's no one else like you, that everybody else is already taken, that you're the only one that's like you. Excuse me. You know, so love yourself, but don't love yourself too much. Be mindful, walk in peace, walk in easiness. Just clear your thoughts, and just take time to just clear your thoughts, and occasionally just be really in charge, and feel, the more that you do this, the stronger your mind will be, and the stronger your mind is, the happier and more at peace you're going to be. Well, I'm gonna let you go on that thought, and I hope this helps some people out there, and I appreciate you inviting you and coming to my channel and visiting, and I hope you enjoyed this, and tell other people about Lessons Learned. You know, tell them where to go to subscribe, and also look for my website, walkingspiritually.com. If you're into survival skills, go to wayoftheraven.net. And I've got books and stuff that I've written, and blogs that I do, and a couple newsletters and things like that. You know, so look me up and online, and my name is Benjamin Raven Presley. And so this is Raven. Hope you have a good day. Hope you have a good life. Out. See you later.